mood and modality, right? Um, Before we proceed here, I would like to talk to you about, um, or give you a definition of mood and modality, if you like, and think about that in English. So, mood, of course, refers to indicative, subjunctive, jussive, right? So, subjunctive mood, or the indicative mood. So, subjunctive mood would be in English in I think I suggest you should, right? You should do something. Um, so what's unique about this English language is the fact that mood and modality work together. Okay, and modality is indicated by models, right? Model auxiliaries or model auxiliary verbs, we call them must, should, can, can't, might, must, etc. So these are models. We don't have them in Arabic. Let's see how we express modality in Arabic, okay? But mood, like I said, we know it's what we refer to, and it's always labeled as either indicative mood, subjunctive mood. For those who know French, I think they know that subjunctive in French is kind of hard and complex. Um, so these mood features vary from one language and to another. Okay, in terms of difficulty or complexity, if you like. Um, so, I think I said already. I define mood and modality. So I am moving to the third bullet. Um, so in MSA, mood and modality are interconnected. Okay, so there is no meaning we don't have specific auxiliaries in Arabic that replace or that are synonymous to words like must or can in English, for example. Um, and I'm sure in the other languages, because I think I read somewhere in a research, might be wrong, but modality or models, we don't have them in any other language but English. Okay, must, for example, should, could. These, express things like ability, possibility, obligation. Okay, so you could do it, right? It's very possible that you will do it, right? So expressing possibility, ability, uh, you can you can make it happen, right? So can expresses here ability. So we don't have words, I believe, in any other language but English that are like that. Let's see. So, like I said, in the case of MSA, um, which we are studying, mood and modality are interconnected. And of course, you will see some examples. Um, Things that we should know also about mood is that there is no mood marking in the S stem. So, and I will show you examples. Mood infection is marked in the P stem, and it's a morphological correlates of model meaning. So, um, I repeat, there is no mood marking in the S stem, right? Why is that? Think of English. Because when you say stem, right, you're talking about past, completedness, right? Expresses the idea of completedness or past. Um, I mean, when you express mood, um, just because the verb is conjugated in the S stem, you cannot tell uh, because of that, the mood is indicative or subjunctive, or but instead it's marked by the P stem, and it's a morphological correlate of modal meaning. And I will just show you examples so you can understand better. Okay, so um, of course, we have three moods, three types of mood: indicative, which is known as the U set, right? The U vowel. If you like, it's not always the U, but it's just a name. And when you think about indicative, and we're thinking here verb phrase, we must have something beside the verb itself for that to be a verb phrase, to be considered a verb phrase. So we say قد ينجح, right? Hence the U set, right? Indicative قد ينجح. So he may, قد in the future, قد ينجح, right? قد ينجح, if you want to be formal, right? سوف يتعلم, he will, right? Those are good. Oh, oh, I think I meant here هو لا يأكل. So let me just add لا. هو لا يأكل. Even when you add لا, you don't really that doesn't affect the U set. It stays the U set. When you negate the verb, yes, to make it a phrase, a verb phrase, هو لا يأكل. Okay, so with when you so now for the indicative mood, right? The indicative mood, it's you can this is what I would like you to try to remember. You use قد with the verb, the P stem, right? You use sofa or sa, and then you use la, right? For the subjunctive, من الممكن, and it's the asset, أن يدرس, right? Hands up, أن يدرس في أمريكا. And of course, we know that أن does something to the ending of the verb, if you guys remember. أنا أريد أن أحب. Okay. أنا أحب أن آكل. أنت تحب أن تأكل. أنت تحبين أن تأكلي. You drop the noon. So this is what we're talking about. This is so subjunctive. In this case, subjunctive, because we have من الممكن. من الممكن. It's possible that. It's possible that. So أن يدرس في أمريكا. So the mood here is subjunctive. There is a chance that he will study in the US, but I'm not sure. He may not. He may end up going. He may not end up going to the US. Someone who is, for example, in Morocco. So okay. Hence, this idea of mood and modality, they are interconnected. So because we have min al-mumkin, that expresses modality, right? In our language, in MSA. In English, you could use the model could. He could study in the US, right? He could accomplish his education in the US. He could, yeah. So min al-mumkin, that expresses modality, and the exact meaning here is possibility, right? This modality as expresses possibility. Because of that modality, we have to put an before the verb, and yadrusa. And once we do that, the verb changes to the a set versus the u set, because u set will be yadrusu. If you're saying, if you're just conjugating yadrusu in the indicative form, you say ana adrusu, anta tadrusu, huwa yadrusu, right? You understand? Okay. And then the jussive, this is the most commonly found example in Arabic. When you use la, but here it's different from the indicative that we have in la ya'kul. La taghdab. So imperative. When you are using a verb in the imperative form, in the negative imperative form, right? La taghdab. Even in the affirmative, the other imperative, the regular imperative, what do you say to someone? When you ask this person to eat, you say kul, right? Kul. That's jussive, right? Kul ends with a sukun. But it shouldn't be a good example here because it's just a verb. It's not a verb phrase. It's just one word, right? So negating it, adding something makes it a verb phrase. So what can you do to have a verb phrase in the jussive mood? This is the most possible example I can think of, is when you're negating with la, but be careful, you're negating the imperative, okay? Don't be mad, don't be mad. تغضب, لا تغضب, be patient. لا تغضب. Okay, so you understand how different it is from هو لا يأكل. Even you in the indicative, it will sound like هو يأكل, هو يأكل, sorry, هو لا يأكل, right? هو لا يأكل. That's the uset. But because the verb is in the imperative, originally it's اغضب in the affirmative form, اغضب. But no one would say to someone اغضب, right? Get mad, huh? Lose your control. It's not an advice, right? So لا تغضب. When you put la, the verb changes to, it may look like it's in the present tense, but it is in the present tense. It is, I should say, it is in the P stem, but it's jussive. It should end with a sukun, لا تغضب. Okay? So these are the cases of mood and modality that I would like you to think of in terms of comparing MSA with the language of your choice. Okay? So far, so good? Yes? Okay. And the last part is time and tense, right? Of course, again, when you say tense, you may also think of how we conjugate verbs. Yes, but we are not working at the level of words now, of morphology. We are working at the level of verb phrase, at the phrase level, at the syntactic level of the language. So we need to know, what do we do to have like a verb phrase indicating time and tense? Okay, this is very unique to Arabic, especially with the example أنا مدرس. Do you remember what we call مدرس in morphology? Do you remember? Do you remember? مدرس versus مدرس. Okay. No?
Isn't
Yes.
it kind of like active participle versus the passive participle?
Which one is مدرس? Yes.
It's the active participle.
Excellent. Yes. Yes. So, and if you guys remember, I said something about the active participle and the passive participle. Somehow they are related to verbs, right? they are like verbal nouns, like the masdar. They are coming from verbs. Yes. So what they share with the verb is the action itself. Even when you say, think of gerunds or verbal nouns. If I ask you how would you define writing? You would say the act of writing, the action, the act of writing, indicating action there. So hence verb. Same thing. The same thing we have in the case of um, um, active participles and passive participles, but for this specific point, we are just working on, we should just remember active participles. So why active? Because it's not like active passive voice thing. No, that's not what we should think of. Instead, what we should think of is the active in the sense that there is an action. It's almost like a verb. أنا مدرس. So when you say أنا مدرس, right? This is a verbless sentence or phrase, if you like. Because sometimes we can think of this as a sentence. أنا مدرس في, right? So it's a verbless, and we know that why it's verbless, because when when the sentence is in the present, right, and the verb is to be, we don't need it in Arabic, right? So أنا مدرس, in English it will be I am a teacher, right? Um, and when we need an auxiliary, when it's past or future, because even in future, أنا سأكون مدرس, I will be مدرس, right? So we need that auxiliary. كنت مدرسا. So these are the things I would like you to remember. When we have أنا مدرس without a verb, what happens to the active participle versus when we have an auxiliary, كنت مدرسا or سأكون مدرسا? Tell me, what's the difference in terms of case? Yeah, think of case here. أنا مدرس versus كنت مدرسا. The case changes, right? The case, okay, when we have a verbless case, right? The case for the active participle is what?
It's a nominative.
Yes, Andrea. Great job. And كنت مدرسا or سأكون مدرسا, that is
Genitive.
Hmm?
Genitive case.
The other one. Genitive is
Accusative.
huh?
Accusative.
Accusative, right? Yes. Genitive will be when we have a preposition, right? Okay. So think about examples in the language you are comparing this with. Okay. And but please think of whether, okay, think of in that language, I would like you to see if you could find the same use of active participle in that language. Okay, if you ever use the active participle in the exact same way or not. And please remember the past, the active participle, it's almost, we're thinking of it almost like a verb, okay? Because actually it's derived from a verb. It's almost like the verb and noun, okay? To the extent that some grammarians are actually calling it verb and nouns. calling, or putting the active and the passive participles under the category of verb and nouns, okay? So that's all. Do you, this is it. We have covered verb phrase. Let me ask you, is it, because if it's clear, if you know, or if you are aware of the difference between verb and verb phrase after this lecture, I think you're good. Because if you are seeing the difference, you're actually seeing the difference between verb at the morphological level and verb at the syntactic level, if you like. Are you seeing that? Yes? Okay, very good. Very good. So I am ready to stop the lesson now if you don't have any questions.
شكرا لك.
Of course. Anytime. Anytime, yeah. Yeah, Kasul, you are lazy. I know. You love the idea. I think you appreciate the idea of not even, having class, right? As did.
I have to play.
Be honest.
I have to play video games. I'm with my roommates. They already started. الثاني قاعد على الكمبيوتر هنيك.
This is the first day he does work.